Hello, everybody. I'm Carrie Wilt, a speaker, writer, and a heart cultivator with a soul full of sunshine who is on a mission to help you flourish. That's because not long ago, I looked down and discovered that my life had become an overplanted mess that was choking out my relationships, my creativity, and purpose. I was irritable, exhausted, and watering everything else but myself. That's when some soul-searching journal time and a late-night rereading of my great-great-grandmother's classic, The Secret Garden, unearthed this well-tended life truth, that every locked-up, weed-filled, withering life can bloom and grow again with the help of just a little magic. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of magic that needs a wand and a trick-top hat. I'm talking about a dig in, make room, prune away, work on, water well, weed, and feed your soul kind of life-tending magic that I can't wait to share with you here on this podcast. And here's another truth. A well-tended life is not a set-it-and-forget-it life, nor is it a perfect life. It's worked on every single day, in the sunshine and through the storms. And the truth is, what worked in our life gardens last season may not work in the next. That's why here at the Well-Tended Life podcast, we'll be interviewing people who have grown and bloomed true in a variety of seasons and are willing to share their well-tended wisdom and weed-whacking advice with us. So, meet me back here each week and we'll dig in together to discover what's keeping you locked up tighter than the secret garden and unearth the tools that'll keep you growing and blooming true in every season. And welcome to the Well-Tended Life. I'm your host, Carrie Wilt, a speaker, writer, and heart cultivator who's on a mission to help you grow through any season. I'm here today with my special guest, Danielle Freitag. I think I said it right. Yes, good. Who graciously has agreed to come and be a part of this series about the joy, goodness, and growth that is planted all around us. This series was originally inspired by the words of my great-great-grandmother in her book, The Secret Garden, when she wrote, Mistress Mary always felt, however many years she lived, she should never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. And this quote really made me realize that I don't want to forget it either. And so I don't want to forget the joy. I don't want to forget the goodness. I don't want to forget the growth. And so in turn, this quote ended up inspiring for me a morning ritual where I sit and I reflect back on the day before and I write down just one thing that brought me joy from the day before, one bit of goodness that I'm grateful for, and one bit of growth that I saw there. But I do recognize that this is not easy for everyone. It took me a while to be able to see these things, especially when there's storms, brewing all around us, or if we're rushing too fast, we might not see it, or if we're just not even a habit of looking for them. So it can be quite difficult. So I've invited some friends from all walks of life, from all over the country, to share with us about the joy, goodness, and growth that's happening in their world. And my hope is that you might start to see and notice it in yours as well. So let's dig in today. Welcome, Danielle.
Hey, yes, thanks so much for having me, Carrie.
You're welcome. So first of all, I'll maybe give a little backstory. Danielle and I met via Instagram, I think, probably social media. One of the things that I do is I troll the hashtag Secret Garden, and I see what people are doing out there and how they're inspired by the Secret Garden. And I came across Danielle, and guys, she's lighting the world on fire, and it is pretty awesome to watch. So why don't you give everybody a brief snippet of who you are and what you're doing these days?
Sure. Thank you, Carrie. So I just have to say, too, it's pretty exciting to get a message. I wasn't sure if this was somebody, pretending to be a relative of Francis.
Oh, a scammer. You thought I was a scammer?
I wasn't sure. So I was pretty excited. I had showed a friend too. I have to say, for those listening, The Secret Garden is definitely one of my all-time favorite stories. I think it's one of published first in 1911, one of the best all-time children's books. And hopefully everybody who's watching has, read the book. As far as the movie goes, I know there's a new one coming out, right?
Yes. Right now it's scheduled for August, but with COVID and all of that, I actually just reached out yesterday. Hopefully by the time this airs, we'll have a better understanding of what the date is. But, they just want to make sure that when the audience is ready to go back out, that it's a safe place for them to go. So
awesome. It's so good. I know there's a couple different versions, but my favorite, and you guys, if you have not seen this version, the Hallmark version is personally my absolute favorite. So I'd highly recommend that one. So
is that the one that has Colin Firth in the end and he comes back?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I don't want to give it away, so I'm not going to say. Yes, that's the one. So awesome. Again, just one of my favorites. And actually it was a major inspiration to the books that I've written, and I'll share a little bit about that. But first, again, just thank you. And my husband Corey and I were here in southern Minnesota, and right now I am embracing a very new season in my life of being a mother, a first-time mother. And my husband and I have been married about 11 years now, and this is our first. And I might bring her on here at the end just to show you guys, because she's pretty darn cute. But it's definitely a new season. So being a mother, but other than this new season, I have really enjoyed writing and also do some counseling. So specifically, my heart is really working with women who come out of tough circumstances, drug and alcohol addiction, exploitation, and just really do life with them, walk with them. And that's also, those relationships were the inspiration to writing basically about restoration. So every single chapter in the book is about restoration. And I want to just start with something, because you're going to connect with this, Carrie, and listeners, I know you guys will too. So, and it is about Mary. So Mary Lennox. So I'm just going to read this. So Mary Lennox, the Secret Garden, the story's main character, she knew that if there was a key, and we all know this phrase, there must be a door. Right? So she was determined to find the key to enter the secret garden that she had heard about. Some people had told her that the garden was off limits. Others said it was non-existent. They basically, some even close to her, right, had told her that she wouldn't find the garden, and she was told to forget about it in the words and actions of others. But she knew, like deep down in her heart, that this was something that she needed to seek out and she needed to find. And she knew that there would be a safe place where flowers would bloom. And I share that because I love the topic that you first bring up. You'd sent me a sheet for today, and it says that, I just want to read it here. It says, the gardener of a well-tended life sees joy, expresses gratitude, and celebrates growth every day. So the way that I have been able to relate to Mary, in a sense, is difficult seasons, going through different things in my own life, but making sure to find the joy, find the things to be grateful for, everything that you just said. And especially right now, because again, I'm in a very new season of learning what it's like to be a mom who gets a couple hours of sleep a night, and I was in the process of writing again and have put that to the side. So it's a new season where I've had to really cultivate the things that I see as like keys to my garden, right? The things that bring restoration. Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't share a whole lot otherwise about me, but new mom, married, love writing, and my husband and I are a part of a nonprofit organization called Action 169, and just do some work as far as prevention, intervention, and restoration goes for women coming out of trafficking and exploitation. So
it's so awesome. Yeah, you're doing really great things. Let me tell you about motherhood is it's always a new season. There's no such thing as like, I'm going to figure this out. We tell our kids all the time, like, I've never parented a 16-year-old before. like this is my first time. Like I'm just trying to figure it out. So if it's not figuring out how to sleep and, feed them and all of those, it's, how do you, my son's in his first like relationship. Like, how do I parent a kid who has a girlfriend? Like, my brain just, I don't even know. I have no idea. So it's I think that the key to that, no pun intended, is kind of exactly what you said is tending to those keys that keep you, healthy and growing and sane and all of those kinds of things. My heart is still soaking in those words that you wrote because, Mary didn't initially know how to find joy, goodness, and growth. If you've ever read The Secret Garden, and if you haven't, it's okay. I didn't read it until I was almost 40. Yes, this is true. I will tell you about this at another time, but she was sour and couldn't see it, and I think that's what for me, that's one of the reasons for this series is it's something you have to develop. You have to develop eyes to see it. You have to be open enough to see it around you. And so many times we all just get covered up in everything. For me, my drug of choice was busy, and I call them weeds. They were the things that kept me from seeing all those things. And I just kept adding one more thing to my to-do list, thinking that, maybe I could validate myself. Like I love to check things off, like, and that makes me feel good in life.
I understand.
Yes, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I'm excited about your new role as mom. I think that is, it's the best and the hardest thing you'll ever do in your entire life. People will tell you that. And I don't know that I really understood that actually until I had teenagers.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have pretty good teenagers, but it gets harder. So you're having to learn how to set some things aside. Can you talk about that? Like, I know you're like, yes, this beautiful thing that I've waited for, but it's hard to set things aside. I think a lot of us, in this season are having our worlds turned upside down a little bit. To give some perspective, when this airs, it'll be at the end of June, but we're in the middle of COVID still, or as Jen Hatmaker calls it, the Rona, which I love that because I feel like it just like makes it not seem nearly as bad as it might be. Yeah. My brain just like totally blanked. What was I talking about? This is what happens.
It's all good. You had a really good question because you asked about setting things aside.
Yes, thank you. I knew there was a point. There was a point. I was getting there.
We got this together. The teamwork. It's all good.
Yes, maybe your new mama brain fog has like blown across the Zoom screen on me.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. And that's just it. It's the setting things aside has been it has been tough, and yet. You had the really good questions of what are those things that are causing you to grow? What are the things that bring you joy? And even though I've had to set aside certain things, so for example, I was the girl who went to the gym a couple times a week, did devotions, reading my Bible, journaling for like an hour and a half in the morning, just, flexible schedule, to be honest with you guys, doing part-time. So I've had to set certain things aside, but in this new season, the things that are bringing joy, the things that are bringing growth, even though I'm not able to do those things as much, I'm still able to do them. And there was a couple things I really wanted to just share. And again, I do see these things as keys. I always say like the keys to restoration, right? So one of those keys for me has been journaling, has been gratitude. And it's one thing to just recognize, like I can just recognize what I'm grateful for, but to actually take time to intentionally write those things down every single day, speak them out loud, whether it's in the morning, later at night, like now later at night when I'm sitting with my daughter Hadassah, and whether I'm giving her a bottle or whatever, I'm able to, say out loud the things that I'm thankful for. And what's neat now is she's going to be able to hear that and and learn from that as well. So I'm not journaling as much as I used to, but I'm still seeking to find the things that I'm grateful for. And, I love that saying about cultivating an attitude of gratitude. So even today, it's like just being thankful. It's nice outside. I'm thankful for a good healthy breakfast. Thankful for I had about an hour today. She napped really well today, which I'm so grateful for today. And while she napped, I was able to get ready and get a couple things done. But there's always things to be grateful for. And when I know for me, when I'm starting to get down, or if I look at what's going on too much in the news or in the world, it can bring me down. And not that I don't want to know what's going on, but I want to be tuned in to the things that I'm grateful for, and tuned in the sense that I'm not letting the fear, not letting the just the stuff that can be in the media affect me so much. So it's like more time in my Bible, more time in books, more time cultivating an attitude of gratitude. So that was one thing. And I wanted to share one other one, because again, you asked such a great question about what brings joy, and also what brings goodness. The
Before you go on, can I stop you? Because I want to make a point about what you were talking about in your journal time, and you were like, I say it out loud, I write it down. Like, there is something to that, and people think, oh, journaling, blah blah blah, I don't need to write down my feelings. But that's not what journaling has to look like. But there is something about that. See it, say it, write it, speak it. Like it writes the words on your heart. And I think it even like pushes them deeper in a way that you really can't explain. I've been journaling now for maybe 7 years. And I do the same thing. I do devotional time. I do gratitude. I do a little bit of everything. It's always changing. It's always moving based off of what my life looks like, right? It may be a little bit now. It might be an hour and a half, in the summer months when the kids are gone, whatever it happens to be. It's vital to be able to not only see those words in black and white, they're almost more real. And then even I also love to go back and look and be reminded of those things, especially in hard seasons. Look, even still, we're still okay. There's something to be grateful every day.
Yeah, it keeps that hope. No, that's such a good point, that it keeps that hope alive when you're going through a tough time, or you're able to look back and see, and I'll say it, when I'm able to look back and see what God has done in my life, and that I recorded it, or things that I had been praying for and writing those things down. And I'm going to read this because it touches so well on basically everything you just said. So
I set you up then.
You did.
There you go.
It was a really good setup. And you alluded to Habakkuk, chapter 2, Habakkuk 2:2. So the Lord said to Habakkuk, it's the scripture verse, write the vision, make it plain on tablet, so that he who reads it may run with it. So the benefits of writing and journaling do not only solidify the vision, so the things we dream about, the visions, but the activity itself is healing for those who cultivate the habit. Developing the habit of writing will make way for a better understanding of self, goals, and most importantly, what the Lord is saying and what God is saying in our lives. And actually, physiologically, there are things that happen in the brain when we do the whole mindfulness thing, right? You take a moment to be in the present and not allow the swirl. It's a saying from Corey Russell, the swirl of the world and the day to get in. And so there's actually, and just one other point here, there's a strong connection between happiness and mindfulness, which is a byproduct of writing. And so, journaling is such a good thing, or writing. My husband says, I don't journal, I write. Okay. Right.
Well, and what do you say to someone who says, but I'm not a writer?
Well, that's completely okay. It's the pen to paper. Maybe that person might consider starting with pointer questions. So for example, what was good in your week? What are you grateful for? Just having a set number of questions and you just taking the time to answer those questions.
Yeah. Because I think for some people, they get really overwhelmed with just the idea of it. And that's a great way to do it, is just say, hey, let's answer. And I think that's, for me, that's why I kind of have a ritual of how I go about my journal time, and to where there is some sort of a plan, but then I also don't allow myself to get too baked into that plan, because I think sometimes some of the best roads traveled are the one where, for me in my journal, God takes me this way, even though this is what I was planning to do today, all of a sudden I'm off like studying like Justin Bieber lyrics or something, and it's crazy, but it's been known to happen. So
it's flexibility. That's good though.
Yes.
It's not being the rigid, it's being flexible. It's good.
Oh, for sure. Well, and I think too, the very first time when I journaled, I was super set in my ways, and I actually left the sunroof open in my car by accident during a rainstorm, and the rain came in and like filled my bag that I carried everywhere with me that had my journal in it, had everything, and basically washed away all the words. And I sat and I cried, and I was just like, oh my gosh, all those are gone. And what am I going to do? And my husband was like, well, I guess it's time to do a new thing. And I was like, what do you mean I can change? This is crazy talk. Why? So, knowing that, if somebody wants to go journal, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to look like Danielle's way or my way, or Rachel Hollis does a journaling thing. There are a lot of people out there that do different things. Go out there and see what other people are doing, and make it your own. Make it what it needs to be for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's go back to joy for a minute.
Yeah.
Give me some specifics. What are things that are, when I look at joy, I many times in my journal, it'll be something kind of, it might be a sunset. It might be, colorful flowers. It might be just that, my teenage daughter was kind to me today, whatever. It's usually, something, but it's or it could be just a crazy TikTok video that I saw, whatever. What are the things that are sparking joy for you right now in this season?
So I made a list, and the first one was journaling, even if it's 5 minutes of my day or my morning. And I'll tell you what, my family, including my husband, they've been giving me a fun, hard time, because I have been scribing. I don't know if you can see it, but basically my daughter's complete schedule. So when she wakes up, when she has a bottle, how long her wake time was, when her last whatever. So and this actually brings me joy. It helps organize my thoughts. So even all of my notes, and then I've been putting in there something special each day that she does. So it's a type of journaling. It's a type of writing or scribing. Seeing her smile has been a joy. We're doing walks daily. Today it's really hot here in southern Minnesota, so no walks today. But just trying to get outside and enjoy the day, doing things, my husband and I and our daughter now. And we actually my husband and I have not had a date or a time together in 3 months since she came into our lives, but that's okay. We're gonna figure it out. So really, and simple things too, good foods, healthy foods, and not so healthy foods. Those are things that are bringing me joy. I'm reading a book right now.
You're reading a book? Is that, you say reading or writing?
Reading. Well, actually, I was writing. Yes, I set that aside a little bit, which is okay. I've had peace with that. But just the books that I'm reading right now, I love reading. When she's
what are you reading right now?
So I'm actually reading a book. Let's see here. Well, she'll love this. So here, I'm just gonna grab it.
Yeah, please.
Well, here, I'll do this. I can give them each a shout out. So these are some amazing women.
So wait. You have a stack?
Oh yeah, this is.
Wait, are you reading multiple books at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, that makes me it makes me sweaty to think about that. I can't do that. I'm so impressed.
Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna grab one more just because. So this is what I'm doing. I'm actually reading an incredible testimony from amazing women, and then Also one of my favorite authors is Corey Russell. He's written some
you
really
just quoted
good.
him.
What's that?
Didn't you just quote him?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
So there we go. So Inheritance. I'm taking some of his like prayer classes right now. So, but this is the one that I'm reading right now, is a book by Rebecca Bender. So it's called In Pursuit of Love, and it's her story of overcoming. It's incredible. I'm halfway through it. Some other good ones. Give a shout out to Annie LeBear here. She's got an incredible story too. So I love reading stories of overcoming, of those who have gone through something and they have overcome. It's so encouraging, to hear those stories and testimonies. So those are the things that are bringing joy. And the last thing I have on my list that's bringing joy is singing.
Oh.
I'm not going to sing. Don't worry. But I do want to read something, okay, about singing. Unless, are you a singer?
I love to sing. I'm not a singer. I sing in the shower or in the car. And actually one of my bucket lists is to sing in a musical. Like just like community theater, just like someday I'm going to do it. I've been teaching myself how to play guitar and
nice.
But I wanted to be the backup singer for Michael Jackson, but evidently that gig does not exist anymore. And so when I was little, at least, that's what I wanted to do.
Well, it's good to dream. And I hope that does happen for you. I'm going to believe with you that you're able to do that. Absolutely. Yes. I was in one play when I was little and I had one line and that was it. So that was my, that was it.
15 seconds.
Yeah, that was it. So, I know that people out there, when you hear the word singing, it might scare you. You might be somebody who's okay with singing in front of other people, or you're that person who sings in the shower or in your car. But I have to say, singing it actually brings such joy. And I've started creating songs. So like we have a morning song. When she goes to sleep, we have a nighttime song. We have a bath time song. And I had to record them.
I love this.
I had to record them so they would be the same every single time. But this is, I'm going to read another.
Sure, go.
Quote. All right. So have you heard of the amygdala?
No.
Okay. So it's a little, I hadn't either until I learned this. So I learned this from Dr. Dan Allender, and he spoke at one of Exodus Cry's abolition summits. But he talked about the significance of singing. So the amygdala is an almond-shaped mass of cells located deep within the temporal lobes of your brain. So it's part of your brain. And it's involved in your emotions, your motivations, particularly those that are related to survival. So this is the quote though that I want to read. So we need to understand that when people have gone through trauma, so whatever that might look like. For me, I'm a overcomer of exploitation and been sober now just about 14 years, but was severely struggled with addiction at one time in my life. But when anyone goes through whatever trauma it is, it can be whatever. We've all, or even like, look at what's going on in the world right now. If you look too much at it, it is traumatizing. It's hard. So it's like, how do you process that? But we need to understand that when you've been traumatized, the brain actually changes. And I'm just going to read this. It'll take a second. So a portion of your limbic system called the hippocampus shrinks somewhere up to 8 to 12%. And that part of your brain regulates emotions. So there's a portion of your brain affected by trauma called the amygdala. So that's what that is. It's an interplay between the amygdala and the hippocampus and the amygdala. The amygdala is constantly looking for danger and warning the brain that there is trouble. And the hippocampus is actually going, no, you're okay. But so the hippocampus can actually shrink as a result of trauma. So the brain actually can change. But here's the good news. And this is what Dr. Allender would say is, or did say, is that here's the sweet piece of news, is that when you sing and you hear music, the amygdala actually dances. So it moves. It causes the amygdala to move in such a way that causes healing in the brain. And so also when you sing, it actually releases endorphins, which is a pleasure hormone in the brain, along with oxytocin which is another hormone. And so singing actually literally brings
Changes
a healthy, good change. Yeah, absolutely. So
You know,
whether you're gonna sing in the shower or sing in your car, sing.
So where are you singing? Or just to your daughter, or are you,
So mostly just in my home. There's been a few times, worshiping in church, whatever. I love to play piano. It's one of my restoration healing things that I do. And so, I would say I probably sing just about every day at one time or another. So
I love that. I was getting my hair cut and colored for the very first time a couple weeks ago, and one of the girls that was in it was rough. I know. But one of the girls that was in one of the chairs near me was talking, and she is someone who's over a bunch of healthcare workers. So she's like in charge of all the nurses at the local hospital. And she was talking about how they were using music to help them cope with the trauma of, even though we live in a town that literally I think we've had 21 cases in our county. So no deaths, like we have not, but it's been just all of the changes, everything has been traumatic on healthcare workers, and that they were helping them connect a song that makes them feel good, and to learn to go there when, the trauma comes up and the feelings come up, and being able to, and it makes total sense. And it also makes sense when you hear a song and you're like, and you could be in the worst mood ever, and it does change you. It completely kind of pulls you, I think it pulls you out of where you are and helps you to kind of see it maybe from a different space, different head space.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
Whether you hear a song or you sing it or play music or whatever, it's one of those keys.
Have you seen any of those apps where like you can be singing in one side and you're singing along with the person on the other side?
No.
I've seen it on my daughter's phone before. I've never tried it, but I thought, oh, that might be fun if you're all by yourself.
Right. I'll have to check it out and find it, see if I can find it.
I'll see if I can figure it out. Maybe somebody out there knows and can tell us.
There you go.
Who knows?
Friends, I know you're loving my interview with Danielle, but I wanted to break in and tell you more about the organization that Danielle and her husband have co-founded called Action 169. Here's the deal. To achieve the cultural heart level change required to effectively address sexual exploitation, we must first acknowledge that it's happening. Action 169 raises awareness through education, events, survivor-informed printed and published material, professional trainings, prayer gatherings, billboard campaigns, an annual Freedom Race, 5K and 10K, and even a daddy-daughter dance. Find out how you can be a part of the solution by going to action169.com. I also wanted to remind you to make sure you're signed up for our weekly newsletters so that you don't miss out on what's growing on here at The Well-Tended Life. Just head on over to thewelltendedlife.com and plant your email in the subscribe box. Each week, I'll send out a quick note to all my Well-Tended Life friends that features inside information on growth, goodness, and general goings-on that I know you don't want to miss. And now, let's find out more about the goodness that's growing in Danielle's life.
So I'm certain I probably know a lot of the answers to the grateful question. But when you're looking at your life right now, and in the past few weeks, like what is that bit of goodness that you're just feeling the most grateful for right now?
Peace in the midst of chaos. I mean, you guys have seen, you've seen the news, you've seen or at least heard of it. What's going on just 2 hours north of me in Minneapolis, in a place where friends of mine live, places where we've done outreach before, places where people have built their lives, their businesses, their homes. I mean, things have been destroyed, and I mean, clearly this horrible death of George Floyd is it's so home. I mean, this is my home state, Minnesota. And so,
Yeah.
so when I say peace, I mean, even in the midst of such insanity of what's going on, still having a peace, but there's like a righteous anger, you know. And I have a mentor in my life, and she always has told me, like, you know, Danielle, it's okay to be angry as long as your anger is not destructive. Like, my anger that I feel is like a righteous anger, that this was allowed to happen, that there was this brutality by someone in leadership, you know. And I don't want to go into all of this, but, and then with the pandemic, with what's been going on these last couple months, I mean, that started up in about really when things started shutting down, and COVID started coming more on the news. That was about March. Well, even before that, but our daughter, you know, she came into our lives in March, and I mean, even in the midst of all of that, just still having peace, and still, and I've had to cultivate that, because there have been times where I've just sat and cried, and that's okay. Like, tears are medicinal, right? But still having some sense of hope and some peace that it's going to be okay. And yes, there's these things happening. But for me, I have to find, and my peace, and I'll just say it. I asked you before this, can I talk about?
I was going to ask you before. I was going to ask you if you didn't say it anyway. So
okay.
Where does your peace come from, Danielle?
Jesus, 125%. Jesus, He is my joy, my peace, my rock in any season. And you know, I gave my life to the Lord and really began walking with the Lord in 2006, after I came out of drug and alcohol treatment, came out of some tough stuff. And so, I mean, my relationship, I mean, it's tangible, like His presence in my life and His peace. And so, you know, being in the Word, taking time in Scripture, even if I have like 4 minutes to read a scripture out loud that popped up on my phone, which is so different. Because again, I used to spend hours, I mean, you know, in the day doing, you know, worship or prayer or writing, you know, being able to just cultivate that time. So it's so different. But even though it's different, He's not different. He's not changing. He's not surprised by any of this. And so I've found my peace in resting in who is solid.
Yeah. And I love the word cultivate, because any relationship has to be cultivated, right? Yeah. You have to spend time together. You have to walk together. You have to talk together. You have to get to know each other. You have to, you know, read and know what this person's about, and vice versa. And it doesn't happen overnight. And that peace doesn't come, for most people, it doesn't come
right.
like that. It
right.
comes from creating a relationship, learning that trust, and all of those things. You know,
yeah.
no matter what you believe, you know,
yeah.
Peace, even in itself, peace within you has to be cultivated.
Yep.
You can't just sit here and go, hey, I want to feel peace. Like,
yeah.
I don't think it comes that way, personally.
No, you can't. You can't fake like having peace. Like or just say, okay, I need to be okay. And I mean, yeah. I mean, there's seasons where, you know, the first month of, so our daughter's adopted, the first month of bringing her home, I mean, there were some nights that were so hard. Like, I'd have like very little sleep, and I'm used to sleeping, like, you guys, I was like an 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep I could get. Yeah. And now it's so minimal. And so I was exhausted, but I had a few nights where, I mean, it's tough. I just cried. And I was like, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that she's in our lives and we're living in an answered prayer. And yet I'm also recognizing the grief that I feel of grieving maybe the time I had or the way that it was before, and yet still grateful for how things are now, you know, if that makes sense. So.
Well, and I think anybody who has moved from one season to another can relate to that, right? You're part of your foot's still back here, and yet you really have 2 feet here as well. And that letting go is a part of grieving. You kind of have to grieve the season you were just in. I mean, I remember vividly standing outside my apartment in college and crying as my parents like drove my moving van away because it was over. And my boyfriend at the time was just like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, I don't know. I feel like this is a death of like this part of me is no more. And I'll never be the same going forward. I'm never going to be a college kid again. And I think sometimes we forget that when we're transitioning, and even a job transition can cause that. You know, you're leaving the people behind to, you know, to develop new friendships, and I mean, any season change for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Well, of course. And then, so then you're probably learning a lot of new lessons in your life right now, right? You're seeing lots of probably little bits of growth all around. Where's that coming for you right now?
So the growth part, and I have notes here that I was just going to
I love that. I love how prepared you are.
I mean, I've been thinking about this, but I put them together this morning. But I've been thinking about it. So as far as growth, okay, so interestingly enough, my word for this year, and this is just something that I've been doing the last several years. I mean, I would honestly like pray about a word, and it's not like I just chose one. It's like it was chosen for me in a sense, like the word would be highlighted or it would come up over and over again. Right. My word for this year has been verdant, which means green. It's a color green. But it can be, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's attributed to growth. You know, you think about green, verdant, growing, it's attributed to growth. Now, I didn't know when I was given the word or chose the word, that it really would be a season of growth. I mean, being a new mother, I feel like there's things working out in me, like patience and growing in learning how to be a mother, growing and in the midst of being a new mom, still cultivating growth in my marriage, how to take care of myself, still find time, you know, me time. So it really, in such a season of change, it is a time of growth. And there was a scripture verse I just wanted to share. And this is from Psalm 52:8. And it says, "But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercies of God forever and ever." Now, the interesting thing about olive trees is that they can literally grow in any condition, whether it's hot, dry, cold, sandy, rocky. They're able to grow, and it is said that you can never take down or kill an olive tree. So right now in Israel, and I believe it's right outside the city of David, there's these 8 ancient olive trees that are said to be like the same trees, or at least, you know, the parent or trees of the trees that were there when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And so they've still been there. So it's like no matter the conditions of my life, no matter the conditions of what is going on or the circumstances, we need to remain, and I won't preach here, but I need to remain steadfast and just be like that olive tree in the house of the Lord. And it's cultivating all those things. So that's where I'm growing in being a mom, growing in my marriage, growing in my relationship with faith. So
well, and I love that analogy, because I think a lot of people convince themselves that when things are hard around them, that it's not a time to push and grow. It's and you know, and they're like, later on I'll do that, or when things get easier, or when I have enough money, or you know, when I'm not sick, or whatever it happens to be. And it's not the truth. We are growing every day. We are made. When we stop growing, we're dying, right? And so we are made to continue to do that, despite the weather conditions around us, despite the chaos that's happening. When we stop doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, that we were put here to do, those desires of our hearts that are burning inside, you know, that's when we really truly are dead. I mean, you know, when you know, there are a lot of people, I feel like, that are walking around this earth right now that are walking dead. Right? They're just, they're waiting for this thing that doesn't exist. when they could be, sharing joy with others and being helpful. And, all these people who have locked themselves in their house and have done nothing but watch Netflix all day long. I just keep thinking like, God, what opportunities have you lost, that you could have, what else could we have done with that time? I hope if anybody's sitting in that space right now and that you would take a look around you and think, okay, how can I grow in this season? What can, you were saying like you're doing like some seminars and, there's always something out there for everybody to do to spur that growth and, sit with a journal or maybe sit in silence,
Right.
Not a bad place to be either.
No, not at all. Silence is a good thing. We have a sound machine, for her, and I of course we had her in our room for a while and then just moved her into her own room. But I do not like the sound machines. Like I like quiet, quiet. So anyway, I am embracing the quiet now in our room, even though I can hear the faint sound of her sound machine is the sound of like a dryer. So constantly all night, but it helps.
How did you figure out that worked?
Well, so I took a class called Taking Care of Babies, and it's been super helpful. And she recommended getting this sound machine, and it works. It works great. So hopefully though she won't be like dependent on it. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get rid of the sound machine. So, anyways.
Well, I think it probably helps them get used to sounds around them too. It may actually help when you're out in public. Yeah. I don't think they had those kind of things when my babies were little. We had this like vibrating bouncy seat, which was like the end all be all. It's the only thing that allowed me to shower on a regular basis. And so like, it may be archaic now, but every person that has a baby around me gets a vibrating bouncy seat. It's just my like, look, you can take a shower. This is important. You must have one of these.
Yes, all the baby stuff, right? Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. I feel like we are. I know that I am entering into a new season, but I really wanted to share on here too that I believe collectively that this is a new season. Like we are entering into a new season, and so let's not miss it. It's like eyes open, ears listening, and just this is such an opportune time to, like you say, cultivate the good things and be grateful. And there are neighbors and people who don't have that, and so we get the opportunity to be that, to be the joy, be the light, however you want to say that. And so yes. It's just such an interesting time that we're in, but the opportunity is there to truly rise up and I just had the picture of what is it, Mr. Rogers? So that new Mr. Rogers movie. Yes. Everybody go watch that movie.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it quoted many, many times. And what did he say? Find the people who are doing good, or something like that.
Something like that. And it's the whole your neighbor, and so yes. Anyway, it just popped into my head. So anyway.
Hey, Danielle, thank you so much for sitting with me today. This is so fun to finally even get to meet you face to face, even though it has to be on a Zoom call. Someday we'll meet face to face in person. But I do believe that there are people that are watching today that will hear your words and see the joy and goodness and growth that's happening around you, and have their eyes open to what's happening around them as well, which was really the whole point of this entire interview series. Tell people really quickly, and actually, I don't know why I didn't show her book. I totally should have. Look.
Oh, you've got both of them. Bless your heart.
Yeah. It's her beautiful book. Seriously, it's so cool. I'm so proud of you because, listen, I know this is so much work. This is so much effort. This is no one, if you have never written a book before, you will never understand how hard it is. And what Danielle has done in here is she has shared with you herself and what has worked for her. And it's you're not reading a book of somebody who hasn't walked it, right? She's giving you tools and a lot of books you read and it's a nice story and all, but there are things in here that you may not, 1 and 7 may not apply to you, but 4 and 6 are life changing. And even if just one of those little tools works for someone, it's awesome. So tell everybody briefly about your book, where they can find it and where they can follow you and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So, the book, you can get it right off Amazon. So, The Garden Keys, and there's 2 series. So the first one came out June of 2018, and then the second one just came out last fall. But you can get them on Amazon. If you want to be more supportive of the Action 169 organization, you can go to www.action169.com and get them there. And I'm pretty sure the book is in Barnes and Noble. So you just search The Garden Keys. And of course I've got my social media. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
And singing lullabies and stuff to your daughter.
Oh, speaking of which,
I want to
can I bring her on for just a second? Okay.
Yes.
Here. We'll do no blankie. Oh. Here she is. She's
Y'all
got her
get
phone.
ready. If you're listening to this podcast, you need to go to the YouTube channel and see. Look at this little cutie pie. Say hi. Tell us her name again.
Hadassah.
And that's clearly a biblical reference, yes? Who is Hadassah in the Bible?
So she's got, what are you looking at, honey? So Hadassah is the Hebrew name of Esther. So it's Queen Esther.
Yes.
So we know the story of Esther, right? So she brought lots of good change and exposed what was wicked. So like Hebraically, Hadassah came into our lives. Her adoption day was on the day of Purim. So if you know what Purim is with Esther. So yeah, so Hadassah.
Hi.
Yeah, cutie.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm not going to
bring her on for 2 seconds.
Oh, of course. Keep her on as long as you want, girlfriend.
I'm going to give her
cute babies. Everybody wants to see cute babies. Thank you everyone for taking the time to listen or watch today, wherever you are hearing us and seeing us. My hope is, as I said out there, is that one of you will hear and see this interview and have your eyes open to the amazing joy, goodness, and growth that's happening around you, because here's the deal, and the truth is, it's there. You just have to go looking for it. It's probably right underneath your nose and you just didn't even realize it. So even in the middle of the storms, it's there, I promise. So until next time, y'all, blessings and blooms. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you.
Hey friends, I had so much fun talking today with my friend Danielle about the benefits of journaling, the joy of scheduling, and how she's finding time to still fit in things that bring her joy, but in a very different way now that she's a new mama. To learn more about Danielle and her cause and to order her books, Volume 1 and 2 of The Garden Keys, head on over to action169.com. And you don't want to miss our next episode in the series about joy, goodness, and growth, as I interview my newest friend, blogger Lindsay Diane from It's a Charming Life. During our time together, she chats with us about her vintage lifestyle, a Swedish tradition called fika, and the cleansing power of this pandemic. So make sure to follow The Well-Tended Life on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels by the same name today. And until next time, y'all, blessings and blooms.